Okay. So last weekend we have seen that how the JavaScript execute, right? If you have gone through recording, if you didn't attend, right? Why, how does synchronous work one by one line? Our garbage cleanup, how does that work, right? Memory allocation phase, what it is, right? Just a minute. So all those things we have seen. Then we have seen hoisting. When you create a variable, normal variable with when you declare a variable with var and a normal function get hoisted, right? So before initializing also you are able to access it. It won't break. In case of var, you will be able to access it. But in the memory allocation phase, that variable will be assigned with the undefined value. But if you try to use variable which is let or constant, so you will get an error. It will find the variable, but it will say you cannot access before its initialization. Reference error you get. Same as that, if you have a normal variable and you stored a function also inside that, so you won't be able to invoke it because at that time it is undefined. Okay. So that is everything about hoisting. Now we are going to see closure. What is closure? So any Angular interview, these two questions you cannot skip. Either one of these or both of these. 80 to 70% possibilities, both of them you will have to face, or one of them. Okay. So and this will be your first or second question. So how much confident you should be? If your start is not good, so again, you will lose your confidence within your interview. Right. So that's why JavaScript is that much important. You have to work on it. Doesn't matter you like it or not. You have to work on it because our interviews start with JavaScript mostly. Yeah, in some small scale company, they won't focus on JavaScript. They will directly jump to the Angular. But almost everyone will start on the JavaScript only. Okay. Now, closure. So closure is very easy. We'll see very basic example. Let's say I have a function outer. Inside this function, we have another function inner. Okay. You have a function outer. Inside that function, you have another function. And this function you are invoking here only. Okay. Now in outer function, I'm creating some variable where course name equal to Angular. So I have created this variable in outer function. So in the inner function, I'm able to access this variable. That is nothing but your closure. Console.log course name your variable. Okay. So you have outer function. Inside outer function, you have created some variable, right? And that variable you are able to access inside the inner function. And that inner function you are executing over here. Okay. Then in the script, you will execute your outer function. Let it run. So see, course name Angular got printed. This is from line number 15. See line number 15. So you are able to access the variable declare outside this function. Okay. So this is nothing but your closure. With the help of closure, you are able to access the scope of the parent. Okay. What is the parent of this inner? Outer. So you are able to access whatever things you have declared in outer variable, outer function that you are able to access inside the inner function. That is nothing but your understanding of the closure. What is closure and how do you explain it? A more theoretical or bookish definition will be like a closure is a function that remember the variable from the scope when it was created, right? The scope of inner will be outer. So a closure is a function that remember the variables from the scope when it was created. And even after that, the outer scope has executing also. We will see that the other part. So a simple definition is like a closure is a function that remember the variable from its scope. Okay. This is very basic example of your scope. Very basic example of your closure. Let's see one more. Now same thing I will create it again. And inside inner function, again, I will have a function, inner 2. Okay. And this inner function, I have a variable where course duration is equal to 2 months. Okay. Now inside this inner 2 also, I'm able to access it. Console.log course name colon plus course name variable, which is from my outer to outer scope. Then again plus duration is your this variable from its first inner scope. Okay. And this function also I will execute inside it only. So you have two inner function, first outer, then inner, and in this inner function, again, we have inner function. Now in this inner function, you are able to access the variable declared in outer also, variable declared in inner also. So scope closures, it has access to the two closures, one of the inner and one of the outer. Okay. Let's see this one more time. So I will comment this one from the inner. See, course name Angular and duration is 2 months. So it is able to access the data from the outer scope also and the inner scope also. Okay. So you can go in trail between inner, but you will be able to access it because all are inside the same function. So it will have, whenever that function execute, closures get created. Now I'm using the closure get created. How do we know if closure get created or not? And when it creates? Okay. Now I will add a debugger over here inside the inner 2. See now in your console, see over here, it has got two closure, one closure of outer and one closure of inner. The parent function, first parent function and the parent to parent function. So this is where you can see the closure also. Sometimes they might ask you question, when does this closure get created? So whenever you invoke a function inside function, then closure will come into the picture. Okay. So here you can see in the scope, you are able to see the closures created by this function. Okay. That's where another question will come in. Let's comment out. Okay. Now inside this inner variable, I'm not accessing any outer variable. Inside this inner function, I'm not accessing any outer variable. Not using outer scope data. Okay. So I have an outer function. Inside that I have created a variable, but that variable I'm not using inside the inner function. Then I'm executing inner function and this outer function will be executed. So at this example, you can see closure was there. Closure got created. Okay. Sorry, we need to add a debugger. So here I will add a debugger. So here you see now closure is not present. We are in the inner function, right? But you cannot see the closure. Closure didn't get created. So when does closure will get created? When does closure will get created? Just now we have seen now. At this time when we had a debugger over here, we were able to see two closure, but now we are not able to see any closure. Why?
When it's invoked, it is not in called the inner function.
No, we call the inner function. That's why it is executing. Why at this time closure is not present? And why earlier closure was present? See one more time. Why?
When we access the outer variable inside the inner function.
Right. So if you are not accessing any outer variable, outer scope variable inside your inner function, so closure won't get created. So this is the next intro question. If your experience is more, so sometimes they ask the tricky question like this. Yeah, it's okay because everyone by now knows the definition of closure. You won't find a single person. Yeah, sometimes there will be person who doesn't know properly. Okay. But now everyone knows the definition of closure. Everyone is going to explain. So interviewers are coming with some tricky question. So they will ask, yeah, if I have a outer function inside that inner function, in outer function, I have created sphere variable, and inner function, I'm not using any of the variable. So will closure get created? So if you are not accessing any variable from the outer scope, closure won't get created. Clear? In both of this example, we were accessing variables, so that's why closure got created. But inside this example, we are not using any outside variable, out scope variable. So closure won't get created. Clear? That is the definition. Understood, everyone? So here in console, you can see the closure. Whenever closure gets created, here you will be able to see the scope of it. Okay. Now in the definition, I said the function will remember the scope even after the parent function got executed. Even after that, inner function will remember the scope. Listen to one more time. A closure is a function that remember the variables from the scope, even after the scope has been executing. Means you are inside this function, even outer function has been executed, still the inner function will remember the scope of the parent. How do you create that example? Anyone have created? See, currently what is happening? The inner function, we are executing inside the inner only. But what I'm saying, even after outer function has been executed, after that also inner function will still remember the scope of the outer function. Okay.
Example counter variable.
Right? A simple counter variable. So first, whenever you practice this first. One with normal, one inner function, one with two inner function, and one without inner function, without accessing any outer scope. So you should be able to see that and see it for yourself. When I'm telling you, it looks very easy, but you have to actually see it, then you will remember and understand properly. Okay, that photographic image should come in your mind whenever you are in the interview. Yeah, when I didn't use any variable, that closure was not there. When I access any variable, then only that closure was present. You should understand it and you should see it by yourself. Okay. Now, so currently all the three examples we have seen, we are executing this inner function inside that only. Okay. Now, function counter. Now inside this counter variable, inside this counter function, I will create a variable. Okay. Let's say let count is equal to 0. Okay. Now what you want to do, you will create one more inside function. And inside that function, what you will do, you will increment the function. Okay. Increment the counter function. Okay. And here what you will do, you will just simply increment it, count plus plus. Okay. Increment operator. Okay. Then here, what you will do, you won't return you won't execute the function. Okay. What you will do, you will simply return the function. Return increment. You are not executing this inner function. You are returning it. So now this function, what this function returns? Counter function. What this counter function returns?
Increment function.
Function, a reference to the function. It is returning a function. Okay. So if this function is returning a function, how do you store it?
Closure.
So you are creating a variable because this function is returning something. So obviously, whenever you invoke this function, you have to store what it is returning. So I'm creating a variable and this function I will execute over here. Okay. That's it. This function got executed. Right. But this variable. Okay. See now. And now, because this function, outer counter function was returning a function, I stored it over here. So inside this counter reference, what we have got? What we got it over here? What we got?
Value.
Inner function value.
Inner function only, not value. See na, from this function, what we return? Whole function. So that whole function gets stored over here. And now inside this, I have a function, so I can invoke it. Right? Getting it? Okay. Here also, 2 times I'm executing, and after count plus plus, I will print the count value also, so that we can see if we are able to still access that value or not. Value plus count. Okay. I will add a debugger over here also. We can check it properly. Okay. So currently we are at line number 50. Once I execute this, my function will execute. Let me add a debugger at line number 40 also. See, my function got executed. My variable got initialized. Count variable got initialized with 0. And here what I'm returning? The whole function, increment function. Okay. Now here what you got? In this variable, what you have? Function. See? In this variable counter reference, what you have? Function. So you can invoke it. So whenever you invoke it, this inner function will execute. See? Now, if you check the count, what is the value? 0, because last time when our function got executed, we initialized with 0. So it is able to access it. We are incrementing it. Count plus plus. Value got 1. Function got executed. Now we are again invoking this function. Again, it will go. See the value 1. So last time when we executed it, the value was incremented. It is still remembering the value. So this is that line key. Even after outer function got executed, but still inner function is able to remember the variable or the scope from the inner function. This is the other example. First one is a normal one where we invoke that function inside the inner itself. Second is like where we return the function and invoke it after outside it. So parent function has already invoked, executed, but still inner function, we are able to remember the scope decided inside the outer function. Understood? So this is an example of your closure. So closure is very simple. Key inside any function, you have another function. So you are able to access whatever you have declared inside the parent function, inside the inner function. That is nothing but closure. Okay. Now tell me, in Angular, have you seen something like it? Which we have a function, and inside that you have an inner function and you are able to access the things declared in the outside function. Have you seen anything in Angular? We have so many times. Try to recall in Angular, what do we have similar like this? Does closure is there in Angular also while working with TypeScript? Anyone?
Subject behavior.
Subject behavior, how it can be closure? In what example you are saying? We have so many things. We open existing project.
RxJS operators.
No. See, you are getting it wrong. It is something else, right? RxJS and everything, those are operators. We are talking about functions, right? We are talking about functions. It is query parameter. Even you are subscribed. Okay. Let num is equal to 1. So you have created you have a function. Will you call it as a function? This thing, will you call it as a function? Is this a function?
No.
No? Okay.
That's right.
Dot visit service. Dot get all visit. It's not good. Now, will you call it a function? Will you
Yes.
call it
Yes.
function? Yeah, right. So this is also your function. Just the way of writing got changed. Previously, we used to write something like this. Okay. So inside this subscribe, we are able to access this. Right? That is nothing but closure only. Okay. Inside this also, we are able to access the variable from outside scope. That is nothing but closure. Let's see one more very basic example. Here we have NGON. So in NGON init, I'm creating a variable let course okay, and here I write the set timeout. And here I can access this variable. So is this example of closure? Is this example of closure?
No.
Hmm?
It needs
Right?
outer function.
Yeah, function, arrow function. Doesn't matter if it's a normal function or arrow function. So inside NGON init, we have created a variable. This is altogether function. Inside parent function, we created a variable. Then in set timeout, we are able to access it. Closure. Okay. So set timeout, set interval, you are subscribe, inside subscribe, you access the variable. Everything is closure only. In JavaScript, it looks very pure. But while working on Angular, it doesn't look that much pure. Okay. Clear all? Understood closure?
Yeah, yes.
Simple. Now create your own definition, whatever you are able to understand. A function which access all the variable declared inside the parent step. How it is able to access? Because of the closure. Okay. A function which remember the scope from its parent. Right? That is nothing but closure. Even if parent has executed, still it is able to remember the scope. That is also closure. So these are the various example you can try. First, create a normal function with inner function, create a variable and try to access it and invoke it there itself inside inner only. Then again, one or two in the inner function you can create and see if you are able to access everything. Then create a function which doesn't use it and check the console if closure gets created or not. Add a debugger inside the inner function. Okay. Then one more example where you are returning the function. You are not invoking over here. You are returning it. And then you are invoking it. Still it remember because your outer function got executed. Na? Still it remember it. Okay. Now in this example, they will ask one more question. Okay, now there is a memory leak. Let's say this counter, I'm going to need it only 2 times. I'm not going to need it after that. But now still this function will hold a reference to this function and this counter variable. So memory linking is there. Now your garbage collector won't clear it because there is a link. Reachable object is there. Right? So how do you clean up this?
Make it null.
Getting it question? See, you have a function which is returning another inner function. And the reference of that function, you are storing it over here. But I'm saying I just need this counter variable. I just need to increment this counter variable only 2 times. After that, I'm not going to need it. So if you kept it like it, this function variable will always have a reference. That reference got created, won't be destroyed. It will be always there. Garbage collection also cannot clear it because we have a reference. So how do you detach that reference or how do you clean up this reference, whatever was created?
Null we can assign.
right? By assigning null to this variable or undefined. Now you cannot invoke it because you remove the reference of it. Understood? Again, if your experience is greater than 5 or 4, so they might ask this also. Before 5, they won't, because other person also has to know that. Okay. So how do you clean up? Simply by assigning a null or undefined to this variable. So you are detaching that reference. Clear? Okay.
Sir, one more question here. Like, will if we create another instance, so it will start from the count 0, right?
Yeah. See, let's remove this. Now, where counter 2 is equal to, again, I'm creating a new instance of that. Okay. So for counter reference, it will have a difference reference of the function, and counter 2, it will have a different reference. Again, it will start from 2. Counter 2, I will execute. For every invoke, for every execution you are creating of this function, a new reference will get created. See now. So first counter reference, okay? At this time, counter is so 1. Okay. Again, we are invoking the function. The value is 2. Counter is 2. Okay. Then we are creating one more instance of the counter. Okay. Again, that variable got initialized. Na? So again, your counter will get initialized to 0. Now here you can see counter got 1. So for this, and again, I will call this. So you should understand now. Okay. At this time, in this reference, counter was 1. Sorry, 2. Okay. Then we are creating one more instance of the counter. That is counter 2. Inside this, we have at this counter is 1 only. Okay. Now I'm invoking counter reference, the old one. See now. 2, the old one, because this function executed 2 times. That was the last. So for this, it will have a different reference of it. For this, it will have a different reference of it. Clear? I didn't wanted to explain this because I'm not sure everyone will be able to understand, but since you add it up, understood everyone? This will
Yes.
have a different value of count and this will have a different value because we created a different reference. Everyone will have a different counter reference. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone having any?
Sir, in interviews, they will also ask like how the core.js concept is applied in Angular or where we are
How
using
the
this core.js concept. Like you asked closures how is working in Angular. So same like they will
set
also
timeout at
ask.
set interval. Just don't try to go in deep. Just have it like, let's say you have a normal function in ng-on-init, and in ng-on-init, you have some variable, right? And inside that set timeout you have. So in set timeout, you are able to access that variable. That is nothing but closure. Okay. So keep very, if you try to complex it, if other person doesn't know it, he will consider your answer wrong. So keep it very simple. Okay. Yeah. Anyone else having any doubts on the same? It's very important and it's really very easy unless you give it a try. Now I explaining it, it looks easy. But if you don't practice the same on your own, if you don't write this code, it is difficult. Okay. So whatever we are going to do, right? You also have to do the same thing. Now let's try the chat GPT. So this is the practice what we have done for understanding the closure. I don't have to know. So your prompt should be I'm working on my JavaScript fundamentals. Today I have completed closure. These are the things I have done in JavaScript closure. What else I can see, or what things are remaining in the closure that I didn't cover, or provide any more example which will help me to learn closure more properly. Right? So put your code, whatever you have done, then ask it like this. You have coded the core concept of the closure very well looking at your example. You have already learned inner function accessing the outer variable, multiple nested closure also we covered. Closure exists even when outer variable, even outer has executing, right? Practical example of counter, each function call a separate window, counter reference and counter. That also we have done. Right? So same thing, it is revising again. So this is for private variable. You can return an object also. Now you can try this. Okay, it is returning object. Still you will be able to get it. Multiple closure sharing same variable. So here you can see counter only, but difference. You have created a variable and instead of returning a function, you are returning an object. And inside that multiple functions are there. Getting it? You are returning a object over here. And inside that object, you have function. Then you invoke it like this, object dot this, then invoke. Because this function is returning object. So object dot what you want to increment, because in this object, what you got object, right? Inside that object keys are nothing but your function. So try this variation. For loop, create a for loop. Inside that, add a set timeout. See how it behaves. For loop variable, var and let, how you declare it. It behaves. Let's see this example, for and this. Just give me 2 minutes. So before seeing that for loop example, can anyone explain me the scope? What is mean by scope? What is mean by scope? What does this word mean? Scope. How you will explain it?
Or we can say a scope is just an area, a place where code is running.
Okay. Anyone else? What do you mean by scope?
Global scope and local scope.
No. I'm asking what is scope, not
Okay.
types of scope.
Whenever
It's
you
like
want to access before initialization, that is called hosting. Sorry.
No, I'm asking scope. What is scope? Listen to my question.
okay, within where we can call the function that scope outside or inside. This is the scope, right?
No. You are explaining me characteristics of scope. Simple
Okay.
question. What is scope? Everyone knows it, but I am asking you to explain it.
It is like area where we can access the variables, the
Right?
specific reason or
So
something.
scope decide ki this variable where you can access it. Because of scope, you will get to know ki you will be able to access it or not. Correct? That is the scope. Ki scope determines till where you are able to access it, the variable or the function. Where you have created and that where you can access it. That is nothing but your scope. Okay. See, sometimes now, as I'm saying, interviews are very changing. So you should be very clear on your basics. Fundamental, there should not be any scope of, means you don't know that, or you don't have a proper understanding behind it. Everything, very basic fundamental, you should be clear about it. Forget about Angular or React. JavaScript is our basic fundamentals. Okay. Angular, you are already working, so you know it by heart. But JavaScript, we don't normally work on it. So we might not know properly what it means and how does it work. Okay. Let's say I created a variable where, okay, student name is equal to Chetan. I created a variable inside. Now I'm creating a function, get name. Will I be able to access this variable inside my function?
Yes, because
Right?
where is the global?
Because this variable I have declared inside the global scope. So global scope variable, I will be able to access it. Fine. And I can invoke this function. You know all this, okay? So just we will see it one more time. I'm able to access it. Now inside Chetan variable, I'm creating one more variable. Let's say student city. Okay. Now, can I access this variable outside this function?
No.
No. No, sir.
No. No.
What will happen? What error I will get it over here?
Where is not
What error I
declared,
will
sir?
Hmm?
Difference error, sir.
Not defined. Student city is
Not defined. Stud city not defined. Okay. That is the proper error you will get. Reload. See, stud city is not defined. So why I'm not able to access this variable outside? Because of the scope. Because this variable we have declared within this function. So that is the scope of this variable. Outside you won't be able to access it. Clear? This is how you explain scope. Okay. Now, how many scopes we have in JavaScript?
We have three scopes here. Function scope, global scope, and variable scope. Oh,
Function
sorry,
scope,
block scope.
global scope, and
Block scope.
block scope, not variable. You said variable, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Function, global, and your block scope. So within script, outside you, if you create a variable, that will go into your global scope. If within a function you create any variable, that is your function scope. Okay, this variable will be accessible within this function only, not outside. That is your function. Now, third is your block scope. Where we can see the block scope? How we can see the block scope?
within curly braces.
In
Yeah,
curly
curly brackets,
braces.
sir.
Okay. Function print details. Okay. Now inside this function, I will create a variable where num is equal to 1, 2. Okay. If condition I'm writing, if true, log. Will I be able to access num inside if condition?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, 12 is able to access. Okay. Now inside this variable, inside this if condition, I will create a var variable. Inside this if condition, I'm creating a var variable. Okay. Product name. Mobile. Will I be able to access this outside this if condition?
Yes, sir.
This product name outside this if condition, will I be able to access it?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
And if I try it over here, what will happen? What
Undefined,
will
sir.
print over here?
Undefined due to
Undefined,
hosting.
sir.
Why undefined? Again, come back to your hosting part. Na? You are
Hosting, yeah.
accessing a variable before its initialization. So value will be undefined. That is your hosting concept. Na? So here it will print undefined. And here,
But sir, product name is defined in a block, sir. So how will we get sir undefined, sir?
product name is declared inside of, and then
Yeah.
how you are saying ki after if condition you are able to access it?
Because where is the function scope and the global scope variable?
Okay. So see, we created a if condition within this block scope, you have created a variable. Some of you said ki, yeah, this variable you will be able to access it over here. But in there said ki, why we are able to access it before? Alright, after you are able to access it, so why you won't be able to access it before also? You will be able to access it. Now, when you create a variable with var has two scope. Remember, it is very critical and sometimes you might get confused. Var has two scope, function or global scope. Where we have declared this variable? Where we have declared this variable?
Inside the block, sir.
Within function. I'm talking about scope. Var has two scope, global or function. Currently, where is this var?
inside function
Function.
scope.
So this variable you will be accessible within this function. Doesn't matter it is in the if condition or set timeout, doesn't matter. Within this function, you will be able to access it. Why? Because var has global or function scope. Currently, you have declared this within the function, na? So it will support it. Let's see it. See, undefined, 12, and then mobile. So this print undefined, this print mobile. Okay. Now, instead of var, if I make it let, what will happen now? What will print over here?
We will get the error, sir.
What error?
Undefined.
Reference error.
Yeah,
Reference
reference error
error,
of
sir.
what exactly error?
Where is not declared, sir? Where is not declared? Product name is not declared.
Let's say,
Product name is not defined.
no. See. Okay. In case of normal variable, if you create a let and before that, what error you get? If you create a let variable and before accessing it, before initializing, you would access it. What error we get?
Reference error.
No.
Not
That error I'm
initialized.
asking.
Not defined.
No, what exactly error you get? Reference error is okay, but what exactly error? In case of let and constant, if you try to access it before initialization.
Cannot be
Reference
accessed
error.
before initialization.
That is the error, na? See, if you just say the reference error, na, if the other person doesn't know it, he won't be happy with it. He wants the exact error key. If it is late and constant, you cannot access before its initialization. That is the error you get. Okay. Now, let. So var has a function or a global scope, but let has only block scope. Now, this variable you have created within this block. So outside this block, no one will know what this variable is. So now if you are accessing over here, it will say I don't know that variable. So variable is not defined. So same error what you get when you have not created a variable and you are trying to access it. Because when you create a let variable, the scope is within this only. Within the block scope only, you will be able to access it. Outside, you won't be able to access it. So here also it will break. See, here only it is breaking. Product name is not defined. Even if I comment it, then my if condition will execute. See, still it is breaking after outside only. This is also breaking because let has only block scope. Understood? After this curly bracket, you won't be able to access this variable because that is the scope of let and const, block scope only. And instead of this, if it was var within function, we will able to access it because var supports global and function scope. But let supports only block scope. If within a block you created a variable, that variable you will be able to access it within that block only, not outside of it. Okay, I have seen interviewer again. If your experience is greater than 5, they will play around with this only so much of time. Okay, 4 to 5 example, they will try to confuse you with this var let within block, within not block. Okay, so get it, you are clear. Var support global and function scope. Where you are declaring it, according to that, it will be accessible. Let doesn't matter you are in a function or you are in a global scope. If you have declared let variable within this block, within that block only you will be able to access it. Clear? Again, either it is this or set timeout within block. Okay. Let's say I'm creating a set timeout over here. And in set timeout, I'm creating a variable let prod price is equal to 100. Okay. And after this, I'm trying to access it. Log. See, still undefined because block. Okay. within block you created, if condition, for loop, set timeout, all are block. Clear? Now let's see the for loop example. So there are so many coding snippet around the for. Okay. So I will create a for loop. Later till 5. Now inside this for loop, I'm creating a variable with R. This var only will be. Now inside for index. Okay. What it will print? What it will print and how many times it will print?
It will print 5 times
5 times.
5 times
5.
5 it will print?
Yes.
How? You are inside the for loop na, and you are printing it. So every time you will get the new value na.
Yeah, yes.
That's what I said. Ki, even with basic, this much basic, you will get confused. Whenever you see a JavaScript coding snippet, now don't be in hurry. If you are in hurry, na, you will definitely answer wrong. Don't be in hurry when it comes to your JavaScript coding snippet. Snippets are just to confuse you. Always check ki this snippet belongs to what concept. Does it belong to hosting? Does it belong to closure? Does it belong to scope? Does it belong to something else? Promise or callback? Identify the scenario. If this snippet belongs to which category? Okay. So we have a normal for loop, and inside that we are accessing. So this is already 1 0 1 2 3 4. It will print. Okay. See 0 1 2 3 4. Because within for loop you are accessing it. Now if I say outside it, then you should have said 4. Okay. So don't be in hurry whenever you are answering. What it will print over here? After for loop has done, then I'm accessing index. First of all, will I be able to access index?
Yes.
Why? Why?
Because of where is a
Where we have
standard.
used.
Where?
Not just because of where. What is the why I'm able to access index over here?
Because where is a global
Global scope.
variable and declare variable for it.
Because where supports two scope, global and the function. Currently, where it is for loop? In the global scope. So
Global
obviously you will
scope.
be able to access it. That is the reason. Okay. Let's see it. Now, what it will print?
4.
4. So your for loop start with 0, index initialize 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And after 5, it won't go inside. So index won't. So last value will be 4. So it will print the last value. Oh, sorry, 5. It will increment that and then it won't go inside. Okay. So it will print the last value, whatever this variable has. Okay. Now instead of var, if I change it to let, now what will happen? What will happen over here? What it will print?
Here we will get the error.
It will get error,
Yes.
What error?
undefined.
Right? Now we created a variable within a for loop. So this variable will be accessible within this block scope only because let. So here it won't understand what is the index. See, index is not defined. Your for loop run properly. After that, you are trying to index, which was created with let. So not able to access it. Clear? Okay. Now, within the function, I will write set timeout. It's variable. Now what will happen? What it will print? Think properly before answering. Check the scope and what variable you have declared.
Zero, 1, 2.
Index.
0 till 4.
0 till 4.
Only 4.
Let's see. It has printed 0 to 4. Just the normal way. So you have this block scope. Okay. And we created a variable with let. So every time this block scope executes, at that time, whatever the value you have, block has blocks, curly bracket, block scope, right? And this variable is let. So every time this line get executed, whatever the value it has, that gets stored over here for that particular set timeout instance. That's why after, because this will execute after some time, na? See. So index inside I will print. So first your for loop will execute that many time, and after 1 second this will execute. So at that time the index value will be something else, but still that will print something else. Okay, check what we get it over here. So we got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and after your for loop got executed, at that time your index value was 4, but still your set timeout printed correctly 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 only. Okay. Now, if same thing, this variable I declared with var. Now what will happen?
It will print only the last value, like 444.
Okay, see.
It will print
1,
5
2,
times.
3, 4, and it has printed 5 only, 5 times. You can see 5 you got, instead of writing 5 times, it has 0, because same output was there. So why this behavior? With let it was able to get the new value every time, but with var it is not able to get the new value. The last value only it has printed. Why?
Because their reference is pointing same, sir. Can you be clear where?
Okay, and in case of let,
New reference is created on every time.
what reference? See, if you answer something, he will obviously ask the sub question, right? If you are using the word reference, he will ask, yeah, what reference? See, again, go back to your scope. Var supports function or global scope. Okay. So this for loop is in your global. So it will create only one memory location in your, it will only have one memory location. Okay. So when you access it over here, it always points to that single memory location. And whatever the after iterating for loop, whatever the last value what, it will only access that. But in case of let, this variable you are accessing within this. So for every iteration, your set timeout will create a new reference of let. So whenever your set timeout execute after that particular that many time, so for every set timeout execution, you have a different reference of that variable index. So that's why each value independent, different value, whatever it was, you were able to access. Understood? So if it is var, in your memory, you will have a single instance of that. And whatever the updated value after the for loop, whatever the new value what, it will only access in the set timeout. But in case of let, whenever this block gets executed, whatever the value it was there, that recorded over here. So it was able to access that unique value. But in case of var, whatever the last value was, because every time, even after set timeout will execute after 2 minutes or 3 seconds, it will check that memory location, whatever the last value it has, it will print. Understood, everyone? If you are seeing this for the first time, it will take time. You try it, then you will understand. Okay. Now, if I say I don't want to use let. I want to use var only. But still my set timeout should get a new value every time. Got my question? I don't want to use let, but my set timeout should print different value only. How you can do it?
We can declare the index inside the function scope and update and inside the function scope.
Means inside set timeout.
No, where index inside the function scope.
Here, where
Yeah.
let's say
Index.
my index is equal to index like this, and this index I will pass it over here. Correct?
No, we can, my index will be 0 and we will directly update my index.
No. I created a variable. What I do it over here? What I assign?
You are assigned index to my index.
Array. This is correct?
Yes.
This is correct?
Yes.
Inside that, what I will access? Index or my index?
My index.
My index, no?
Yes.
Let's see it. Still 4 only. I need
Sir,
0,
sir,
1, 2,
if you
3.
declare in a let, sir, my index.
Come again?
Sir, when we storing index into a let declare my index variable.
So instead of where, you are saying let.
Yes, sir.
Let now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Save. See. Got it. That is the scope, na? Previously let was there, so it was able to recall the each value. Same thing we are doing it over here. Understood? Same thing was happening over here. Na? Let variable, if you are passing it over here, for every set timeout instance, it will remember that value. Now you are passing let. Okay.
In a set timeout, if we declare that my index variable, then
Set timeout
my index var variable.
means inside this.
Yes.
Like this.
Yeah. And instead of let, we can write var.
Instead of let, var. Now try to think what will happen. Try to execute it. What will happen with the reference and all. So all your for loop got executed. This will execute after 1 second. Till that time, your for loop has been executed. What is the value of index? At that time, when this line will execute, what is the value of index?
5, sir.
4.
4, sir.
So what gets stored over here? Let's see.
4.
See. 4, 5. Because again, var variable, na? So this code, inner code will execute after your for loop has been executed. So whatever the new value, last value it has, that only it will get now over here. Got it?
Yes.
It will be same only. Okay. But when you create it with the let, so every time when this for loop set timeout instance get executed, it will have a new value every time. It will remember the new value. One more variation. I don't want to create this let variable.
Can use immediately invoke function expression.
Right? Immediately invoke function. How do we write it? Inside this only, no? Like this only, no?
And inside that you can pass index.
Okay. And here you will pass this as a parameter. And this set timeout, you will put it over here. Wait. You pass the index. No, sorry. Here you will pass the index parameter. And here you will get the serial number. And this serial number, I will print it over here. So this is the parameter you are passing, and that parameter you catch it over here. And that parameter, you are putting it over here. See, you got a difference value. So even though it was var, if someone didn't understand, let's go with the very basic one. So this was nothing but function only, okay? But immediately invoke function. So idea is we just have to create a function. Okay. So function print num. Okay. And this set timeout, I will move it to over here. And to this function, I will pass this index as a parameter. Sorry. Here it will be num print. And this function, I will invoke. And while invoke, I will pass this as a parameter. See what we did. So we have a for loop. Inside that var was there. Then we created a function. Inside. Then we created a function. Inside to that function, we have a parameter. And inside the set timeout, I'm using this parameter to print it over here. Num print will go over here. And this function, I'm calling it over here. So whenever you execute a function, each time new value get passed. So now in set timeout, it will hold this parameter, not the same value. Okay. What was happening over here? This was self-invoke function. This is normal function. So every time your set timeout execute, it will have a different value. In let also, it was happening the same. Here also, it was happening the same. Every time your set timeout execute, it is holding a different value, because you are passing it from over here. Okay. So these are all variation under for loop. See, so many variation we have seen. If you do all this multiple time, then it will get clear properly. Ki, yeah, how does var and let behaves? How do you identify the scope of both? Okay. Fine. So we have seen this. This is called as an immediately invoke function. Because here only it will create and here only it will execute. We don't have to execute separately. Whenever this line get executed, the function also it execute immediately invoke. We don't have to invoke it. It will invoke automatically. So here you can pass the parameter that gets catch over here and we are invoking. See the functions again. Fine. So this is your closure and the scope. Okay. Let's take a break of 15 minutes. Then we will start function only. I will explain all the various types of function we have. Fine. 9 p.m. we will start again. Now we will see functions. Around functions also so many questions are there. How many of different types of functions you know? What are the different types of functions?
Arrow function.
Hmm?
Normal function.
Arrow function.
Callback
Your
function.
normal function. Callback.
Function expression. Immediately invoke function.
Expression. What else?
Coding function.
Named function.
Named function.
Anonymous function.
Anonymous functions.
Anonymous.
Coding function.
Use headphone while speaking. Sometimes I'm not able to understand. Anonymous. Then
Function expression.
Querying function.
Sorry.
Querying function.
What is saying? Pure
Function currying.
function currying. Yeah, that is also kind of function. Pure function, function currying. Right? These are various types of functions we have. Okay. Out of these, what are the mostly asked interview questions?
Arrow function,
Arrow function or normal function differences.
Arrow
Higher order
function,
function.
callback
callback
function,
function,
pure
uh,
function
and curry
curry,
function.
right? These are the mostly asked. Okay. See all one by one now. One more we forgot. Very important one. One more function we forgot. Let's see who remembers. It's
Higher
very
order
important.
function.
Hmm?
Higher order function.
Sorry. What?
Higher order function.
Yeah, that is just a type. It's not you kind of a
Yeah.
function. That is just how you categorize the function. Higher order or first class. That is just how you categorize it. One more type of function is missing in our list. What is that? It's very important and it's hard to understand also.
Sir, immediately invoke function.
That, yeah, let's say immediately invoke function. Again, one more type of function is remaining. Recursive function. Right? What is recursive function?
Uh,
What is
Function
recursive
call itself again and
Just
again.
function chaining, sir, we can say.
function calling itself inside it? Okay.
yeah.
Now, so we will go with very beginning. Arrow function you already know. Normal function is already know. We will see difference between arrow function and normal function later. Now callback function. Okay. Let's say you have a function and here you can say key print employee details. Here you have employee object in Chetan city Pune. Okay. Inside this function, you have a very employee data. Now you will create another function. Function print console. And here you will have a message. Data, sorry. And whatever the value you get, that you will simply print it. Console.log message. Okay. You have a function which accepts a parameter, and whatever you get, that it simply printed. Now inside this function, you have a variable where you have stored employee data. Now you want to print this employee data. Now you already have a function which does that job, right? So when you invoke this function, print detail, what you will do? You will pass this function as a parameter. Print console function, you are passing it over here as a parameter. Okay, and you need to catch it. Print function. Okay. So when you call this function, you are passing another function as a argument. Okay. Here you will get it. Now here you will create a text where print text is equal to name emp name is plus emp dot name, then plus double quote city is, then emp dot city. Okay. Now you will invoke this function and you will pass the data like this. Okay. So this is your example of callback function. Means this function, when you are invoking this function, you are passing this function as a parameter, and inside this function, whenever you need to invoke it, you are invoking it. It's a callback function. Okay. Let's add a debugger everywhere. Here and here also. See it properly now. Okay. Currently I'm line number 24. So once this execute, it will go inside our first function. But here you see, we got function as a parameter, which expects a parameter. See, you got a function as a parameter over here. Then you created a variable, you stored an object, then you created a text, and you are invoking this parameter. Whatever the parameter you got, you are invoking it with passing this text. So once you invoke it, this function will execute. See? And whatever the message you pass from over here, that you got it over here. And it will print. Understood? So this is an example of your callback function, a function which expect another function as an argument, and that it might invoke after some line of code inside that function. Let's say you have one more function get product details. Here also, let's say you need to print it. So you don't again use. Now, example we are taking just for a printing. You could have written this over here. But real-time example, it might have something logic which you need to execute after something, right? So that logic you will keep it over here. Okay. So here where product mobile and prices. Okay. And while executing this function also, I will call this function. I will pass this function print, and then I will invoke it with the message product. Kind of a reusability we are achieving it. So same function you created, and let's say in almost function you have some logic that's going to be executed. So instead of keeping it every function, you are moving it to different function, and while calling that function, you are passing it. So first this function will execute, and inside that, after some particular line of code, you can execute this callback function. First, your parent function, then second time mobile is from this function. Okay. This is your callback function, a function which accept another function as a parameter and which you can invoke inside that. Like this. Clear? This is your callback function. Okay. Now, pure function. What is pure function? Anyone knows the definition? What is pure function?
Same input, same out.
Same input,
Same
same output
Same
returning, sir.
output. It doesn't depend on any outside state. That is also very important line to add. Okay. Let's say function get sum. Okay. This will have two parameters, num1, num2. And here you will simply do addition of it. Return add. Okay. So you have a very basic function which is expecting two integer number, num1 and num2 as a parameter. You are doing the addition of it and you are simply returning it. So this is an example of pure function. Now this function, you are calling it over here. Let's say where result1. You are calling a function, I'm passing 2, 2. Then where res2. Get sum 4, 5. Okay. Now doesn't matter how many times you call this 2, 3, 2, 3 by passing 2, 3, it will always give you the same result. With same parameter, you are calling this function. Let's say now you passed, it will return 5 for this. And after, let's say 50 lines of code, again you call this, again it will return the same result. That is your pure function. Okay. Now, let's say I have a global variable where total is equal to 2. Do one more function, get sum of two number. And inside this, I have this. I'm using this global variable. Now you have two functions. One is having two parameter where we are just adding the number of two and we are simply returning. We have another function which also accept two parameter, but here I'm doing the sum of it, but I'm adding one more number to it. Now, if I'm calling the same function again and again, this function, I will call it over here. Okay. And after that, some number of lines of codes you have. Again, you are calling the same function. So let's say overall your application, this function you are calling multiple time with the same parameter. Can it guarantee that this will produce the same return? Does this
No, sir.
function guarantee that if you pass 2 and 3, it will always return 5?
No, sir.
Why?
Because, sir, we can pass even total anything, no, sir.
Okay. Listen to my question. Nah? I'm asking if you call this function with 2 and 3 every time, let's say overall your project 10 times you are calling this function at various scenarios. So does this function guarantee that you will get 5 only?
Yes, sir. If we don't change the total value.
Right. But this is a global variable.
Yes.
This I can change. Nah? It can get
Yes.
changed from anywhere else.
Yes, sir.
Now
If we
your
change
output
it
will
with-
change.
Yes, sir.
So this is not a pure function. So while calling the function, if you are passing the same parameter, and if it is not returning the same output, that is not your pure function. But whereas this is a pure function because it is only using the parameters what you are passing to do its calculation. Not outside any state, outside state, it is not using. So this is pure function, this is not. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So while working on Angular, do we have pure functions? Do we create pure functions?
In NGRX, reducer.
Reducer, you might have heard reducer is a pure function which accept current state and it will modify something. But forget
Yeah.
about NGRX, very basic Angular project. Do we create pure functions while working on the project? In one of your project, have you seen helper function? Any helper folder is there in your functions or utility?
Yes, sir.
Utility functions. What is utility functions? You have heard the word utility, right? In normally project, when someone set up the project, you will have a folder utility and some
Yes,
files will be there. What are those functions what we put in utility files? Those are nothing but your pure function. It will have, you have a function which will format some data. You will have a function which will filter some array. You will have some function which remove some extra characters from your string or something. Various examples can be there. A function which has a parameter, it will do some logic on that parameter and it will return the values. Okay. So instead of keeping this function into your services, you can create a normal module file. It will be a simple TypeScript file. You will create function and you will export it. And wherever you need that, you import it and use it. It doesn't need that dependency injection. Pure function, helper function or utility function, whatever you call it. Okay. So while working on Angular also, pure function concept gets used. That's why they ask it also. Okay. A function which doesn't use outside state. Understood? Pure function. So pure function, simple definition, like it will return same output for the same input. That is your definition. But again, you say that function should not be using any global variable or outside state, because outside state can be modified for somewhere. Then your function cannot guarantee that it will return the same output. Clear? Fine. Let's see the next one. That immediately invoke function. We have seen that, right? Around bracket, function, this log immediate function. See, I have created a function. Okay. Now bracket to invoke it. See, it got executed. We don't have to invoke it. Immediately invoke function. Wherever, when this line execute, this function will execute. Okay. This is immediately invoke function. If you want to pass a parameter, this is simple invoke function. And when you invoke it, you can pass some value. Okay, you can pass the parameter here. Immediately invoke function. What other immediately invoke functions examples are there? This is very basic in immediately invoke function. What other immediately invoke functions are there? You have seen it. You might be using it daily.
Constructor.
Hmm?
Constructor.
Constructor is not, yeah, you can call it, but it's not really a function. Yeah, you can categorize that in immediately invoke function because you don't call it. What else? What other? You are using it daily.
Lifecycle hooks.
Yeah, again, constructor lifecycle is almost same. What else? Forget about Angular. Talk about JavaScript. What other immediately invoke functions you know? Set timeout, set interval. Those are also nothing but function, na? Those are, do you call set timeout?
No.
It execute automatically after particular time, right? So those are also nothing but your immediately invoke function. Interval. So this is set interval. After every 2 seconds, this will execute. See, pattern getting incremented. Okay, after every 2 seconds, it will execute. Immediately invoke function. Okay. What else we have seen? Just a minute. Function expression. Function print value. This is your normal function. You might have some line of code over here. Print value. This is your normal function. Okay. And this is how you invoke it. But we can store this function into a variable also. Var print num reference. And here you stored it. We don't need a name also. Okay. So what you did, you stored a function into a variable. So this is function expression, the way of writing function, you can say. It's called as a function expression. You are storing a function into a variable and then you invoke this. Okay. This is a normal function. This is how you execute it. If you store a function into a variable, then you execute that variable. It can have a name or it cannot have a name also. Okay. Here we didn't specify the name, but here we are specifying the name. print detail, and then you invoke a function. This is your named function. Okay, let's see it. See, all got executed. Now let's try to execute this function, directly print instead of print detail. What will happen? What will happen? Will it
I
execute?
think it will give error.
Yeah. The scope is gone. Why didn't give error? Why?
Your print function.
Okay. Let's say the print. So because of print, it is finding that print function. Print is a reserved function in JavaScript. Print is not defined. It is not able to understand what is printing. Okay. So this is a named function, but stored into a reference. So you can invoke only on this, not directly this name. So it doesn't matter if you give a name over here or not. Okay. But this you can call it inside. Then you will be able to access it. Okay. So what type of example is this?
Recursion or nested
Recursion.
function.
Okay. Or nested function you can call it.
Yes.
So these are your print function expression and named function. Okay. And this is also, you can call it as an anonymous function also, because this function doesn't have a name. Set timeout, set interval is also anonymous function because that doesn't have a name. This also you will call it as an anonymous function also because this also doesn't have a name. Yeah, we have a name. Okay. Let's try this without name. Yeah. So your cell immediately invoke function, just it can have a name or it cannot have a name also. So this is also anonymous function. Again, this is just how do we identify a function? Okay. So it can be called as an immediately invoke function also or anonymous function also because it doesn't have a name. Okay. Now, what was there? Function currying first we'll see, then we will see the recursion. So function currying again, like some companies will ask you because this doesn't actually get used in Angular, but in JavaScript, it is the concept. So you have function int product name. Okay. Inside this function, again, you will have a function int price. Okay. And we have to return, right? You have to return it or no?
I don't think we
Yes,
have
sir.
to return
Return,
this.
sir. Return.
Return, no? So here comes, and we will have parameter over here. To the parent function, let's say name we are passing, and here we are passing price. Console.log product name is, we'll access name. Price is price. Okay. This is a kind of a function. We have a function which inside that we have another function and it is simply returning. Parent function also has the parameter and the child function also has the parameter. So when you invoke this function, it has See, here you can see it is showing something like this. One bracket, then another bracket. First parameter function and the child function parameter also it is able to ask. So let's say mobile and one more round bracket. See, price. So inner function parameter it is expecting 12,000. This is your function currying. Function inside function. Nested function, but this function will have different value as a parameter. So when you invoke it, you can pass a different value like this. Okay, let's see it. Let's add a debugger over here. Over here also. Okay, currently we are here. I'm passing mobile as a first parameter to second function 12,000. See, name we got mobile, price we got, and here name also we are able to access and the price. We are simply creating. Name is mobile and price is 12,000. This is your function currying. Function inside function which we are returning, and each function will have separate parameter. While invoking it, like this we pass. So they will sometimes ask you, if I have something like this, how you will create a function? Vice versa, they will ask. Or sometimes they will ask you, I have function inside function, and how do you pass data parameter to each inside function? So function currying. Okay. Let's see one more level. Inside this, again, one more function. And here I will say category. Name is there, price is there, after name. Category is plus category. So I have function inside function, again inside function. Each function has a different parameter. So when I invoke it, see, name, price, category, 3 parameter it is expecting in a different invocation. Auto A2. Then it expect price 12,500. Then it expect category. Category will be by byte. See, let's have a debugger over here. We got name over here. Execute. We got price over here. Why didn't execute? Mobile over there. Okay. So whatever you pass, subsequent function is able to accept that parameter. Okay. So here you can see, here I have given name, here I didn't give a name. Doesn't matter. It just need a function. Okay. Function currying. Clear? And write it down. See, I forgot the return was needed or not because it's been 6 months I have touched the JavaScript. So JavaScript, when we talk about it, because we don't use it while working every day, so it tends to forget. Okay. So keep those who are currently giving interviews, those who are supposed to give interviews in some days, right? Do this every time, write it down every time. Then only you will feel confident while answering. Otherwise, you will forget it after some days. That's why I have asked the question, those who have joined, are you currently giving intros or not? If you are not giving, there is no point of this batch at this time. Whenever you are preparing, then only you should prepare it for like this. Okay. Now, recursive function. So what is recursive function? A function which call itself. Okay. So function print num. Okay. And inside this, I will write console, not log. print function executed. I'm printing first this, then again I'm executing the same function inside it. Now what will happen? And this function I'm calling on the outside also. So I have to invoke it. What will happen now? What will happen now?
It will be print num execute multiple times, like
Yes, but what will happen ultimately?
print num call print num, then it will print console.log, then again it will call print num,
Yeah.
then
but
again
what after 2 minutes, what will happen eventually?
there will be error, like or
Deadlock situation.
yeah,
It will be
deadlock.
for loop, for loop, for loop, for loop.
Yes,
There is no
yes.
stopping, right? You're calling this
Yes.
function. This function will execute for the first time, log got printed. Again, you are calling function. Again, log will again. Continuous loop got executed. So after some time, a deadlock will happen. JavaScript thrown out of memory, something. One, say, yeah. See, maximum call stack, deadlock. JavaScript thrown out of memory. Execution context got over. So whenever you call a recursive function, there should be a condition to stop it. Otherwise, it will be on a continuous loop, non-stopping loop. Okay. Function which call itself is a recursive function. But we should not call this function without if condition. There should be a condition to stop it. Okay. Now,
Yes, sir.
what is the example for this? Which example they ask? They're asking one example, right? They don't ask you, create a reusable function, a recursive function. They put out some example and then they will ask you to write the code. What is that?
Factorial and Fibonacci?
Factorial of a number or
Fibonacci.
flatten an array. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So they will provide you an array like this, where ARR is equal to, you have an array. Here 1, 2, 1, 4, 2 elements are there. Third element, again you have an array. 15, 16, 17. Inside that, again, fourth element is an array. 22, 23, 20. So this is a nested array. Nested array only we call it, right?
Yes, sir.
Remember. Nested array, na?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So see, you have an array. First two elements are very number. Third element is array. First element number, second element number, third element is an array. Inside that again, first element, second element, third element, fourth element is again array. So they will provide some array like this and they will ask you to print an output like 12, 13. Means they will ask you to create a plain array. 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 22, 23, and 24. Like this, they will ask. Okay. This is kind of an example they will ask. So they won't say you, yeah, use a recursive function. If something is there, always go for a recursive. Yeah, again, there are multiple ways to do that, but recursive is what they are expecting. Okay. See this. Function get flat array. Okay. And here we will have an array. So when you call this function, you will pass this as an array. So here you will get the array, whatever you pass. Now here you have to create a new array where new ARR is equal to empty array you will create, because you have to create a new array. Now, this is the output you need. So you are creating a new array.
Yes.
Now you will iterate, because anyway, here you are getting an array. So you will iterate on it. So for each for loop, anything. Okay. Array. Sample. Okay. Now here you want to check if element is number, then you will push it over here. So how do you check the data type of the number, data type of this element?
Array dot is array. Correct.
I want to check if it is number or not.
Type of.
Number.
If like this, no? And you pass element. Correct? This is only?
Yes.
Okay. You will simply print console.log num. Okay. So we are not iterating. We are not calling that same function again. Simply we are iterating and we are checking if the number is the element is having number or not. Okay. See. 2 times only it printed because only 2 elements are number. Then remaining was array. This was array. Third element was array. How many times this for loop will execute? How many times this for each loop will execute?
Only 2 times, like
2 times.
3 times, na?
3 times.
1, 2, third. Only 3 element we have. So this for loop will execute only 3 times. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so here, if it is number, we need to push the number over here. So number array dot push, and you will push element. If it is not number, means it's an array. Okay. So here, if it is number, you are pushing it over here. If it is not a number, means it's an array. So here, this function again you will call it, and here you will pass the element. Okay. And finally, after this for rule, I will return new array. I will show the output. Let's see the output first. And we are returning it. So let's print it also. Something is wrong. Let's try to debug it. What is wrong? Anyone is able to say it? What did we miss?
I think array you commented about.
No, this is the array. Now we are calling this function with passing this array. Okay. Let's see it. First element. Why didn't go inside? Okay. So here you got an array. On array example, we are iterating. So first element. First element is a number. So it will go inside and it will push it. Second element, it's a number 14, it will go inside. Third element, it's a array. So it will go inside else block. And again, we are calling a function. And wait, why element is this? Should pass this, no? No. Correct only, no? Element only we are passing it over here. Why on element it is showing everything? Why it is showing element like this? It's with the for loop. Here, array dot length. This logic I'm putting inside the normal for loop. Element of index. What is wrong with for each? Element is not defined. Where we have this one? Sorry, index. No, where it is? Sorry, array example. Still 12 and 14 only. So something is wrong with our logic.
Oh.
Reload.
Sir, in else
Hmm?
on the code in else we can use spread operator. Like, in
Where?
when
Here?
we call it
While pushing it?
in else new array push then spread operator then we call this function in L.
But normal also it should work now. See, second element array number, third element it goes over here. Array of index. Why it is showing exactly the same thing? It should give us this index value is 2. Array of 2 is this array we should get, na?
Yes, sir.
Why it is passing? Let's try to print it. No, here we are getting it properly. No, it is why it is giving the whole element. Index is 2. Array example is like this: 0th element, first element. If we are trying array index of 2, it should get us. Wait, inside this again? No, correct only. So here we should get this element, but why? Okay, let's see now if it execute again. Yeah, now it got. Okay, this is getting emptied every time we call the function. So we call the function over here again, but this variable will again reinitialize, na, and it got empty. We have to
Yes,
keep
sir.
it global.
Sir, we have to keep it global, sir, I think.
Then otherwise every time it will reinitialize with empty value. We got the output. Let's check it. Yeah, because if we put this inside every time this function again execute again, it will reinitialize with empty. Na? So the previous value what we pushed, it won't be there. See. So first time we call the function, we got 12, 14, and third element is again array. See, 12, 14, and the third element. So first two elements are number. So it will go and it will push it. Okay. Third element is array. So here you can see currently we have 12 and 14. Now third element was array. So again we are calling the same function. So again this function will execute. See, again function got executed and we got inner array 15, 16, 17 and again inside. So now my if condition will execute 3 times because first 3 elements are number. Second, third. So here you can see num array we got 12, 14, 15, 16, 17. Now my next element is again array. So it will go to the else block. Again we are calling the same function. See, again your function got called. Now the nested array, the last one, 22, 23 and 24. We got it. It's a number only. So it will execute if, and we are returning the array what we created. Okay. So there is a condition. Okay, this function is not simply staying over there to go in a continuous loop. According to the condition only, it will execute. Okay. So out of the flat array, you got the out of the nested array, you get the flat array. Okay. So this is your recursive function. Clear? So our mistake was we put this inside this. Every time this function get called, that line was executing. It was getting emptied. So we have to keep it in global. Okay. An exercise for you. Instead of putting it global, we don't want to keep it a global variable. Within your function only, you should manage it. Try to think of, okay, instead of keeping this global variable and using it inside it, how else we can manage it? Try to think. Don't take the help of AI, obviously. Try to think. Okay. I don't want to use global variable. Inside function only, you have to come up. Don't say anything, those who knows the answer. Just ping me once you know the answer. See how you can handle it without creating a global variable. Okay. So this is your recursive function, a function which call itself inside the same function, but always with a condition. Otherwise, it will go into the deadlock. Okay. Now, everything done. Now, I'm creating an variable emp details. Okay. You have get name. I'm storing a function inside a property. Okay. So I have simply created an object, but inside that object in key, instead of storing string, number, boolean, something, I am directly storing the function. Okay. Let's simply print it. Get name. State. Get emp id executed. Let's say here I will print some 1, 2, 3. Here I will print something again. Okay. Then in the last function, since we have a parameter, so we will print the parameter. Object. Okay. So we have created an object. Inside that object, we have some keys, but inside keys, we have stored an object. Okay. Now, employee detail. Let's say if I want to invoke get emp id function. So employee object dot get emp id. What do we have it in get emp id? Function. So you can invoke it. Emp detail dot get product project detail. Now this was expecting a parameter, so I can pass employee, say e-commerce project detail dot what was the first one? Name. So I created an object, and inside that object, in every key, instead of storing string, number, something, I stored a function. So you can invoke it like this. See, it is printing properly. We pass the value, that also it is printing. Okay. So we created an object, but instead of storing normal key value per data, value is function. And you are able to invoke it also. Okay. One more. Where emp or let's say function array. I'm creating an array. Inside that I have a function. First element is nothing but a function. will have parameter. Plus value, name whatever you pass. So here what you do, you created a array, but inside that elements are functions. You know, normally string array, number array. Now here array of function is there. Okay. Now let's say you want to execute it. So fun array, square bracket, which you want to execute, let's say 0. What you get it over here, function, invoke it. Fun array, square bracket 1, invoke it. Fun array. Second, this function expect a parameter. Pass it, see, name it is showing. Okay. Save it. See, first function, second function, third function with the value, whatever we passed. Okay. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Anyone
Yes, sir.
saw this for the first time?
Yeah,
Yes, sir. First time.
Okay. So now coming to your definition, what is first class function? You know, first class function or higher order function, these are not some function. This is just categorization of the function. How you will identify a function that it belongs to it is a first class or a higher order. Okay. A function which can be stored into a variable, which can return a function, or which can accept another function as argument. All this, whatever we are doing, will go into a category, or we call it as a first class function. Okay. Or a function which can get stored into your data structure, your object and array. Whatever you are able to do with this, these are nothing but your first class function, characteristic of a first class function. Okay. Then we call it as a higher order function. So higher order function, you know, map, filter. You can pass a function to another function also. So your array, map, array dot filter, those are your higher order function. Okay. So sometimes they will ask you like this. If I'm executing like this, how you will make it executable? So you have to create an array of function like this. Okay. It's an element. No? It's a value. Value can be string, number, boolean, date, object, or even a function also. Element. It can be string array, number array, object array, or a function array. Since at this level you have a function, you invoke it. Okay. So this much you should know. Everything, whatever you have in JavaScript, everything, try to get it at least once. So if someone asks you, you won't be empty. You will say something. Let's say someone, even if you don't master it, but somehow you remember it. Yeah. If someone asks you, can we create an array of function? Even if you remember it, yeah, Chetan sir explained that. You will confidently say, yes, we can create. Yeah, at that time, let's say you didn't remember the syntax or you might not comfortable, but at least half answer you gave, na? You are confident, yes, we can create. Right? So again, we will try the same thing to ChatGPT. Yeah, this is what I have done. Show me like what else I have. So now I have checked what different types of functions we have. I have tried almost the same thing, what different types of functions we have, right? I have done the practice of the same also. Let me know if I'm missing anything or I need to practice something else. Do this for your practice. Like this only you do. You have AI at your disposal, right? Make use of it. Okay. So that higher order function, nothing but a function which can accept another function as an argument, which can return it. Those are nothing but your higher order function. First class function, understanding why JavaScript says all first class citizen, you know, a function which can get stored into another variable, then we can invoke it. Default parameter, a function can have a default parameter. REST, we will see that REST when we discuss ES6 and all. Spread operator, you can call a function with spread operator also. Argument, function has argument. Arrow function doesn't have this argument. So here you can see you're not accepting, but whatever you pass, you will be able to plot it over here without adding a parameter over here. This is specific to normal and the arrow function. Call, apply, bind is there. We will see that later. This is again very most important. They will ask you. Generator function we forgot. Anyone have asked you generator function? Anyone face this generator question? So this is very, sometimes they will ask your function currying. Hardly someone will ask generator. But this is also kind of a function we have. Again, we have async. Async is also type of a function. What async function return?
A promise.
Promise.
So when you will see promise again, I will show this. This is not a function. This is custom function we write. Okay. So we almost covered everything. Fine. Again, you can ask you provide some more example of arrow function, real time. Now, pure function or callback function. Example, theoretical part you are clear, but let's say you want to see the real time. Okay. Provide some real time example of pure and callback function. If with the example, yeah, you understood the example, but sometimes someone should get a question, what is the use of this while working on the real time? So if you ask it, it will provide some real time example, then you will be able to relate. Because most of the JavaScript concept you see, you don't feel it. What will be the use case of it? Right? See, calculate discount. Like this, you will pass price and discount, and you have a logic to calculate the discount. Pure function. Tax calculator, whatever the tax you have. Then your callback function, like this. Simple console.log. We also say created same. Like this employee ID generation. You want to print the values. Process payment. Again, everything is almost same. It is showing. There was something. I'm not getting it right now. One example was there. Let's ask for the recursive. Wide real time examples of recursive function. If you have nested something like this, you have an object where nested documents are there. You want to get it properly. See, if you pass an object where nested properties are, and you want all the key values of it, document, angular, like that. So you can get like this. You are iterating on it. You will check if the value is object or the value. There we have checked if the value is number or not. Here you have to check if value is object or not. If it is object, again, you will call the same function. See, if item is children, or sorry, here it is children example. If childrens are there, okay, then company employer hierarchy. You have an object like this, whenever you are, if you are working in MNC, if you go to the teams, you can see who is under who. So that kind of a structure. Nested comments. Then filter nested array. This we have already seen. Menu navigation. If you have a menus like this, right? Search product, nested product. If you want to search, there also you can do that. Total folder size. Let's say sizes are then you want to calculate. Okay. DOM transversal, sometimes we have to navigate DOM manipulation. You have a H1, and inside H1, you want to go to the parent, 2 parent, 3 parent. So you can do it like this. By using child node, again, you will get the same node. Okay. So these are the example what you can see. Once you know the basic concept, try to find out as many as example you can. So that concept will get clear. Yeah, this is not just the concept. This can get actually used in the real time also. This is how you have at least practice. Then for recursive, you know more than one example. You will feel more confident while answering. Confidence is the key, right? So many people say, I'm giving interviews, I'm giving the correct answer also. Yeah, you are giving correct, but interviewer is not having confidence in you. You have just learned those answer or you know the topics. So when you come up, let's say someone is asking you, what is recursive function? You explain the definition, you put 2 or 3 examples. So he will know, yeah, you actually know the recursive function. If you just say the definition, every other people are also going to say the definition. What makes you apart? That is how interviews get cracked. Apart from other 10 candidates, what extra you are telling? So for every question, you should have a proper example of your own. One that everyone is not going to tell. Okay. Now, if you talk about recursive, everyone is going to tell you the nested or the flat example. Try this, the nested object, right? Nested menus like this. Okay. Have some example like this ready. Fine. So closure, function scope, var and the let scope, and these functions. 3 major topics we completed. Okay. So tomorrow we will see that ES6, we will complete ES6, everything what we have it in ES6. Okay. Yeah. Anyone having any question? So those who are currently giving, those who have joined just for interview, like Himanshi or still yet to recall the names. Okay. So those who have only joined for the interview, you are giving interview, right? Every day, practice it. Whenever you feel something you are not able to clear it, reach out to me. Even every day in the afternoon, we are connecting. But still, anytime if you feel something this is not clear, reach out to me. Ask me at that time only, get it clear. Okay. Fine. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Let's connect tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.